Hey, it's your host, Jerry Sherstead. So glad you could join us today for the Jerry Rig Podcast. We got some fun stuff coming up today. We have a special guest, Jason Zykowitz. He's going to be coming in right there. What's up, Jason?
Hey, Jerry.
Everybody having a good day today so far? So what we're going to be doing, today's episode is called Laugh and Learn Live, Salesforce edition. With that being said, if you got business stories, let's see, what else? Salesforce stories, business analyst stories, it doesn't matter. We just want to hear stories. So what we do is we essentially tell stories and talk smack. And then we'll be talking about your story or our stories. Jason has some stories, horror stories about business and clients and customers. And let's see, what else? I got some old horror stories from running a business. But what we're going to do is we're going to kind of analyze these stories and offer some solutions, crack some jokes, get a little sarcastic, and even talk a little smack. So let's see, we got about 2 minutes past 10 o'clock, so we're looking good. We're not early or anything, so hopefully we got some folks that are going to chime in with some comments, and let's get things going, okay?
Yeah.
This is the Jerry Rigged Podcast, your no-nonsense knowledge base for business technology, marketing, and analytics. And now your host, Jerry Sherstead.
Well, I hope you like my new opener. That's something I produced over the weekend and took quite a few hours to put that together. But I like it. It's kind of fun. So let's see here. Today our special guest is Jason. Just a little bit of backstory. I met Jason a year or so ago right here in the Phoenix area at one of our local Salesforce events. And Jason is what I would call a one-man wrecking machine when it comes to Salesforce. He's got like 12 certifications. He teaches, trains, coaches Salesforce users. He lives in the Phoenix, Arizona area. So welcome to my special guest, Jason Zykowitz. What's going on, Jason?
Thanks, Jerry. Excited to be here and excited to have everyone here. We got a comment in the chat where music is a bit loud. I was dancing. You know, they say, okay. Are you admin or are you dancer? I am dancer. So when I was hearing the tunes, I was just laying it down. Loving it. Loving
How's the mix now? I turned the music down a little bit.
It's good for me.
Okay.
Music plays. Let me know if that's good for you too, or let us know.
Somebody said, what is Salesforce?
What is Salesforce? How much time we have? It's all the things. There's a Salesforce platform to explain Salesforce.
My cynical, sarcastic side says, come on, man, get a clue.
Well, no, I mean, you came to the right place.
I know, exactly.
It's, if you're curious about Salesforce, you're immersing yourself. We're going to be talking about how Salesforce has been used with workers and with businesses. So it's all context. We're not just hacking code. We're all talking context.
Well, just fundamentally, Salesforce is software, and it's CRM software. And in case you're not familiar with CRM software, it is. One guy said, "Jerry, I thought you were always sarcastic." Anyway,
by software, we don't mean cotton T-shirts.
Right.
Just so we're clear.
So Salesforce, there's CRM platforms, which stands for Customer Relationship Management, been around for 20, 30 years, software itself. Act was kind of the first CRM type software. It's still around. It's been bought and sold a bunch of times. But the big boys out there are Oracle, SAP. Salesforce is the number one platform in the entire world. Microsoft, for my buddy Gene Thomas, that is called Dynamics 365. They're a huge distant second place to Salesforce owns like 28% of the market, and I think second place has like 6%, 7%. So anyway, Salesforce owns it, but they're not the only solution. We got HubSpot and ActiveCampaign, which for certain marketing automation, I actually like better than Salesforce.
Well, see here, right here, maybe we can lower the music a bit more on it.
Oh, really?
And just be able to get more of a talking about. But I would say, as far as that tip of your iceberg, Jerry, like, for your knowledge, if you are interested to learn more about Salesforce, check out Jerry's podcast, because in episodes 1 and 2, you really get into it, where you have the music going in the background, which it makes it like a cool info thing. But Jerry, I'm really impressed with the research and explanation that you've done about Salesforce and CRMs, and the production you have for the podcast. So I'm really excited that you put all this together, man. You are the radio, video, audio, sensational man.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. Let's see here. So, folks, what we want you to do is chat in if you have any stories. Well, first of all, I want to get to a couple questions for Jason. So, how did you get into Salesforce?
Me, yeah. I guess people can put in the chat, like, what's their current role, just to start with. What's their current role, if they are doing anything with the Salesforce ecosystem, if they've done anything with Salesforce, if they're working anything with tech, what do they do? What do they brought them here? And what are they hoping to learn? I like to call that the role goal poll. What's your role and what's your goal? And
the role goal poll.
The role goal poll.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
So funny names like that goes into my origin story. I call myself coincidental change champion.
The what?
As opposed to being an accidental admin. So accidental admin, for those who don't know, is a celebrated term in the Salesforce community for people who were for working at a company and they were managing spreadsheets or coordination of some sorts, and their company got Salesforce, and someone said, hey, we need someone to manage Salesforce. That's now your job. So that's where the accidental admin has come up for the person who's doing one thing and now has to do that with Salesforce. And because the platform is able to be configured with clicks and not code, and because it could be so customized in so many ways, it's become a celebrated term of people who've never studied IT who are now working with IT. They're so enthusiastic about this. They never thought it can happen. The fairy godmother of Mark Benioff came by and said, bibbidi bobbidi boo, you're now an accidental admin. And so that's not my origin story. It's similar. I'm a coincidental change champion where I was managing a customer service team, and we were using email one day until we got Salesforce Service Cloud. So I got to see the night and day difference, but not everyone was going to be using Service Cloud right away. They were still using email, and that was a problem because I was using Service Cloud and my team was in. And if other people weren't using Salesforce, they were using their email. It wasn't in Salesforce, so we. And
what was your role there?
So, my role, it was specifically, it was a senior coordinator of customer care for university housing at Arizona State University. So Arizona State University has many campuses with lots of community halls, and so I was managing the customer care team where we were in an office of student workers. And so the student workers loved Salesforce right away because they were able to be part-time, come in, plug in, and see what's happening. So where in the past, someone were to send an email saying, I have a question about such and such, and it's like just a one-time off, we have to respond. Whereas in Salesforce, we could be able to see that person's previous emails they've sent. We could be able to have that email thread be all tied in. It's tied to the person. So one person, we can now be able to see all their cases. We can be able to see their history, if they're a current student, if they're not. So that's Salesforce. It's a relationship database. So it's able to have data related to other data. So for a contact, you can know their cases, you can know their classes. So that's why we loved it. Being the student workers being part-time, they could just instantly see that tech. But if the information's not in Salesforce, we're not able to see it. And so the community directors, they were still using their email instead of using the email in Salesforce. And so they were talking back and forth with students and creating cases, and they weren't closing the cases we were sending to them, or they weren't creating cases for their correspondence. And that just left us out of the loop. And so that's where I had to drive that change. And that's why I became a coincidental change champion, because this need for change coincided with the previous jobs I've had in teaching. Thank you.
I like those little sayings you got. You got a whole bunch of them. I think you made a whole bunch up, right? Didn't?
Yeah, exactly. That's where the change champion comes in. That teaching mindset for funny sayings, alliterations. I am a communicator.
Well, so in case you're wondering kind of what this podcast is about, generally speaking, and we're going to dive into a problem here. The whole idea is to have some fun, be sarcastic, talk some smack, throw your problems out on the table. You got some old clients that you dealt with that are just completely and utterly annoying. We want to hear that story. You got a boss who's a jerk. We want to hear that story. So just chat those stories in, and we'll take a peek at them. Let's see here. What did Gene say? Gene said, I think that's how a lot of IT people start, accidentally. Yeah, actually. Sometimes you just kind of get the role shoved to you at a job, and then you realize, hey, I kind of like this. And then you start studying, get certifications. A couple years later, you're working at a new company and making more money. Okay, let's see here. What do we got? I'll start off with what's that?
Gene just threw a joke in the comments. How about them Cowboys? I'm staying out of that. I guess I fell into the tech sector pretty well because I'm a geek. I'm not too good with sports. I didn't keep up with. I don't know. How about them Cowboys? I don't know. What happened?
See, I'm still kind of like, are the Seattle Seahawks still playing, or are they out? That's how much I know. Yeah. Same here. Thanks, Gene. All right. I'm going to start things off here with a quick story. Let's talk about old dudes that don't want to change, right? So I had this I worked for this home builder, and I had this sales team, and there was 3 guys. There was like 2 old guys. When I say old guys, I'm talking about 60s and 70s. So, older. Anyway, then a younger guy. I knew the younger guy was going to adapt to the technology with not too many problems, but I had a feeling that I was going to be running up against roadblocks with some of these older guys. And I knew that because one guy, he wouldn't respond to emails. He wouldn't look at a calendar. He managed all of his leads on Post-it notes, all pasted around his monitor. And I'd walk into his office and there would just be like Post-it notes all the way around. And I'd go, what's with all the Post-it notes? He says, those are my leads. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, we're doing a lot of advertising and marketing, and each one of those leads costs us about $65. You got a spreadsheet or something you could put those in? And he's like, no. I only need this. And he pulls out a golf pencil about that long and a little tiny spiral notebook, the kind that like Dragnet, dating myself here.
Okay, I was going to say
Dragnet police officers use. They flip them over and then they take notes, take your name and your license plate and all that. I'm like, yeah, that's not going to work.
Got a handy dandy notebook, but yeah, it's not my only source of knowledge.
Well, it's, there's nothing wrong with having a pencil except a golf pencil, except when you're playing golf. But then the other guy, he used spreadsheets. And he used a combination of spreadsheets and Outlook. Outlook, is actually pretty rocking if you get a system going compared to like Post-it notes. So anyway, worked with the owners and we talked about, we got to get some software in here. Because we got hundreds of leads coming in. Sales are picking up. We don't know what's coming, what's going. We don't know, if the sales guys are following up. We don't know anything. So I did a bunch of research at the time and landed on Salesforce, did the implementation. And so when I sat the sales guys down, I essentially said, okay, here's the deal. First of all, let's just get this out of the way. I'm kind of a no-nonsense guy. You have to use this. You don't have a choice. So that was out of the gate. But here's the deal. I will make it easy for you. I will teach you. And there you go. Yeah, that's the new Mac operating system. We can party out if we want to. So I told them, plus, you'll be able to follow up easier. You'll be able to make more money, and you'll have more time to do the things you want to do. So they're, how do you respond to that except, okay.
Confetti.
Tell me more.
Back up to that. Did you make that confetti fall? Was that like an automatic AI, like the robot saw when you do that?
No. This is the new Mac OS. So if you do 2 fingers, you get balloons.
What?
Dude, let me tell you something. I was doing job interviews over the past 4 or 5 months, and I'm sitting in these job interviews, and all of a sudden out of the clear blue, balloons are coming up and party confetti, and they're looking at me like, what just happened? I'm like, I literally have no idea. And I Googled it for like
hours. You're like
3 days.
You're like
oh yeah. Yeah, if you want to rock out, you can do that.
Oh my God. Oh my God. So this is be like Doctor Strange Part 1, where the first superhero movie, where they're first learning their powers and they're messing up. So that's you. It's like Doctor Strange figuring out, oh man, I was just shaking someone's hand and I made him disappear to another dimension. Oh no.
Anyway, so this was all happening. One guy said, Lock Sport says gang signs. Yeah. Anyway, so these little, confetti and everything was happening during job interviews, and I was just lost. I'm like, I have no idea why this, out of the blue, every Zoom call I have, every Teams call I have, every time this is happening just completely randomly. So I started doing research, and I literally could not find a dang thing on Google as to why, what was happening. I'm like, confetti, Zoom is doing, how do you get rid of party balloons, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I finally stumbled upon something, and apparently it's part of new Mac OS. And so it's called some sort of gestures or something. So
this is the negative side of tech, where that I can understand, where you have people with the sticky notes and the golf pencils are like, this is tried and true. I'm not going to get balloons popping up in the middle of my meeting.
Right.
I'm not going to get a clown jumping out. For instance, I could just imagine, like, with my phone, recently I was hearing a funny interview from someone telling one of their interview horror stories. They interviewed with Motorola, and Motorola said, so what do you look for in a phone? It's like, calling people. Like, that's nothing Motorola is looking for. They want you to be a phone enthusiast. But no, honestly, like, if you listen to the users, that's what I look for in a phone. It can do everything else. But
that's what you do, like, 70% of the time. Yeah, you probably use like maybe 5% of a phone's features, right? Now they've just become ubiquitous with life.
Have your fundamentals. Yeah, don't.
So anyway, back to the Salesforce story really quick. I'll tie this up. Essentially, in a nutshell, we got it implemented. It was working when the owners and managers were able to see funnels and dashboards, and they could like project what kind of revenues come in. Man, they were like loving life. The sales guys took a couple of guys a little while to adapt, but they finally started adapting. And one of the things that I did was I created lead objects that were super simple. Like, hey, give me their first and last name, their address, cell phone, and email, and whether they have land or not. And that's it. And then, so once they got used to that, then I would add more fields, have a meeting, teach them about them. And so it was little bite-sized chunks that really helped out.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, exactly.
They're to old guys that won't adapt.
Yes.
I'm not changing for nothing. They don't build things like they used to.
They have clowns jumping out of my phone. Balloons are popping out.
Balloons popping out. You ever see, I sold cars back in the 80s.
Dude, I feel like I'm getting
day.
so old with all this tech. I feel I'm turning into an old guy now. I'm afraid of tech. I'm afraid there's going to be a clown jumping out of my computer the next time I smile.
I sold cars in the 80s, and I used to hear this all the time. They don't make cars like they used to, and I used to always back it up with, it's a good thing. A lot of people died in those cars. Remember the dashboards? They were made out of metal, like hardened steel. So when you rear-ended somebody or hit a pole, yeah, your head did not put a dent in the dashboard. The dashboard put a dent in your head.
Or, or maybe that's whatever your mode of transportation is, and it maybe works for you, you might need to adjust just because other people are adopting technology faster than you. I like to say, we didn't move from the horse and buggy to the car because we ran out of horses.
So Locksport Bruv. Hey, Bruv. What's your favorite CRM for drop shipping? Well, most of the platforms you typically drop ship. Well, I take that back. I think drop shipping, you can drop ship from, all these manufacturers. There actually is some platforms. Now, I'm not super familiar with it, but I've been around it a little bit. And there's actually some platforms specifically for drop shipping. Then you can bring in all the manufacturers that you're drop shipping for and your affiliate marketing. I don't know. You know anything about it?
Dude, you are Mr. CRM. You are Dr. CRM. You I was really impressed with that podcast episode you did, where you talk about all the different CRMs and the history with ACT and all the different. And you've done your research on the research. So
well, you got to. You can't look like an idiot. I mean, you can't start a podcast and go. So, yeah, we're going to talk about CRM today. I don't really know what it is, but, if you got any ideas, you can send me an email and clue me in. Uh-oh. So my buddy here says, thoughts on SMMA.
Wow. Locksport brought the questions.
Okay, so what lock you up. Jason, what is that?
Oh,
I don't know what it is.
Locksport's testing you.
Yeah, okay. Thoughts on... Yeah, I think he's trying to throw me curveballs here. So go ahead there, Locksport bruv. Tell me what SMMA is.
Well, bringing the curves. So I think here, these are like whole other rabbit holes we can get into that you could, I say, message Jerry if you're interested to hear about that in future podcasts.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about funny stories. Let's talk about user adoption.
All right, Jason, it's your turn, by the way. You had a story you was going to talk about called training tick crickets.
Yeah. Okay. Well, actually, before I get to that, I think I have another story that comes to mind. Thinking about your user adoption and what wound up happening with my story of at ASU, where I found these community directors were not using Salesforce. So, funny story. What wound up happening is they called me. They wound up calling me the Salesforce guru because I all the time was saying, "Hey, did you create a case? Hey, did you close your cases?" So they thought wow, I'm always in Salesforce. I was. So they called me the Salesforce guru as I was there, noticing what they're doing or not doing and there to help them out. They called me the Salesforce guru. Nice way to call me a nag. So I was there nagging them to close and create cases, and they were with me, they were nice. They were follow along, but it was like whack-a-mole. It just I had to just keep dragging it. They weren't they weren't resistant, but they weren't active. If that makes sense, so
it's like they knew they had to do it, but they didn't want to do it.
Well, I'd just say they weren't doing it on their own. You have your spectrums of employees where you have your actively engaged, you have your engaged, and you're actively disengaged. I think those are the three. So actively engaged is someone who goes above and beyond. Engaged is someone who just does the bare minimum. This is my role, 9 to 5. It's the job description. Don't do anything more. And actively disengaged, those are the people who are I got my sticky notes and my golf pencil. I am not using the CRM. So that's actively disengaged.
Well, you also have this other one. So I was likening between a square rock and a round rock. So if you had a round rock that's perfectly spherical, that's the employee you love, because you just give them a little kick. They just roll and roll, and it's like a bowling ball. They just roll for it. If you go to a bowling alley and you can just give that ball a little nudge, like a little kid just gives it a little nudge. It may take a while, but it will roll all the way to the back of the alley and knock down a couple pins. Then you got square rocks. Now they will do stuff as long as you kick them, but they're going to do it one time. You're going to kick that square rock. It's going to flip one time, and then you got to kick it again, and then you got to kick it again, and then you got to kick it again.
I love that metaphor, because exactly, sometimes we have some rough edges, whether it's a rock or a hexagon, we just have some rough edges where we get to not keep going. That's a beautiful metaphor. And some are just shaped where it's like, you got to kick them and then keep pushing. You got to you can't just kick them. You got to dig your.
Well, they will work. Push. They will actually do work, but you got to keep kicking them.
But that's where I'd say, your sticky note guy with the pencil, they're like, no, I got my system, because that happens. So you got your laggards, as I said.
Well,
so you're on the adoption.
I think it's part of human nature, right? I mean, humans don't like change, just as a general rule of thumb. Okay.
I don't know. I mean, if I had a thorn and you took out the thorn, I'd say thank you for the change. So.
Well, that's true. Okay, so in your story, what happened? So what was the solution, the end result?
Instead of the whack-a-mole, so I found doing whack-a-mole, you were having some. There was a couple of round rocks who were just they were on the ball, pun intended. They're just doing their own thing. I didn't have to check in with them, but the vast majority of people, I had to kick them every time to get them to move, and some were just harder rocks, and that I had to dig my heels and be like, come on, you can do it. You can do it. And what I found was the missing piece was the managers who are above them, because this solution, as most of the times are, you have it's at the executive level is where it's designed, and there you have your executive sponsors. So they're the ones who said, hey, we want Salesforce for our end users. So you have the executive level who says, we want Salesforce. I'm going to sign it. I'm going to go be a part of the design. And then we're going to release it on people who hopefully will have input in it. Most of the time they don't. And that's another funny story for you to tell you about. And the end users are expected to use it. And the managers, they're the ones they aren't the ones who are expected to use it, and they weren't the ones who are part of the design buy-in process. So it was the managers who I found were the missing piece to be those nags, or to be that cultural change for the end users, because the end users were by telling the managers, hey, when you have your meetings, instead of just asking them about emails, asking them about Salesforce. So this is the same goes for any business where you have your salesperson with your sticky notes. If his manager were to say, listen, if it's not in Salesforce, it doesn't exist. I don't care if you close that deal. You got to put it in Salesforce. Otherwise, you're not getting commission. You got to have it your forecast. If you don't have your forecast, I don't know what's going on. I'm not going to, give you commission for it. So that's it.
So did you fix it?
Yeah, we did fix it. We did fix it by the missing element. So I call that the push and pull. The push and pull, because I'm wordy. I'm nerdy and wordy. So so push and pull. Pull was the helping hand saying, hey, I can give you a nudge. I can tell you what to do. I could be that nag. So that's the pull of the helping hand, whether it's from me or from others further ahead. The push is the alignment. The push is the alignment, saying these are your expectations for your role. We're going to have meetings and we're going to talk Salesforce, making sure your cases are done and created. So I found that was the missing piece. I don't know. Was that funny? The voices in my head are laughing.
No. I mean, hey, in any organizations, you got those that just they're happy, they're motivated, and they don't really care what they got to do. They're just ready to do it. and they love to learn. And then you got the golf pencil guys.
Exactly.
And they get... Hey, I went out and hunted down these sound effects, which took about 3 hours. But a great place to get sound effects if you're looking for them is YouTube. Just strip them babies down. They're all copyright free, so you can just use them and nobody cares. Let's see here. I got a story. Let's see. What time is it? We're at 10:30. We got a little bit more time, and then we'll wrap things up. Let's see here. First of all, like and subscribe if you have a quick second. We need subscribers. I think we got 4 so far. So, maybe one day we'll say, man, we got 40,000. We'll see what happens. So, hey, I had this client, and when I first started working for them, I noticed they had in their Salesforce org about 5,000 sales leads, right? And I'm looking at that, and I noticed that like nothing's being really followed up on. So it's kind of suspicious. Like, what is going with all these leads? And a lot of them were coming in off the website, and they specifically said, I would like more information, right?
There we go.
Yay, we want more information. So anyway, hot lead, right? Lead comes in, I want more information. I mean, it's a salesperson's dream. So then I started talking to the sales manager, and I had a meeting with the sales team. They're like, oh, no. We don't use leads in Salesforce. We just use accounts. So I'm like, okay, when a lead comes in or you go out and you get your own lead, what do? Oh, we just type it in as an account. So, well, now your Salesforce CRM system has all these accounts that you think are buying customers, but they're actually people that are just kicking tires, right? Yeah, but we're not using leads. We never have, and I don't want to use leads. I said, well, we got 5,000 in there. So what do you want to do with all 5,000 of these leads? I have no idea. I'm sure they've been followed up on. I'm like, no, actually, they haven't. And so we had some more discussions, and honestly, at the end of the day, we found a bunch of leads in there that had never been followed up on. They just kind of went into the ether. And the sales manager didn't want to deal with leads, the lead object. And so I kind of felt like I needed to just like blow all those leads out of there and just get rid of them because they're just clogging up the system. Nobody's doing nothing with them. And so the net result was there was no change. I mean, yeah, I would have loved to, get the lead object rolling and tell the sales guys, hey, when you go out and find somebody and they're showing some interest, but, you don't have an appointment with them, you haven't done anything, let's put them into the lead object. And then you can work those leads. And then when you get an appointment or somebody says, hey, can you give me a price on, blah, 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 then you can convert those into an account or in a contact. I don't know. What do you think?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a big part of getting that that buy-in, getting that I don't want to just say buy-in, but getting that input. Getting the input about let's say it's like in school where the teacher says, hey, first day of school, what class rules do you want, students? And so the students make the rules so they feel more of a sense of ownership. So I think that it's great for authenticity instead of a process that just like comes down that's like doesn't actually make sense. That's where you're going to have resistance, where you're going to have people saying, I don't want to use this because it doesn't do what I want it to do.
Well, I went through the whole BA process. Why? So why do you guys not want to use leads? Why do you just want to enter those in there? Is there a problem with all these accounts? We got thousands of accounts, but we only have like 300 customers. So you understand where I'm going here? Our entire org has all these accounts. Now, accounts tell me that they're doing business with us, but we got thousands of accounts that don't even hardly know who we are, let alone do business with us. So what would your process be, Jason, if you were going to manage lead flows and sales and all that in that sales process? Take the lead object, check it out the window, can't use it. Now you got contacts and you got accounts.
And opportunities.
I guess you could take accounts and you could put them in a stage called, thinking or something.
Yeah, you can. So, I mean, you can be able to identify if an account is a current customer, or if they're a prospect, or if they are working for an opportunity. So you can be able to, have different stages of an account, because I do know that you could be able to mark the account type if they're a current customer, or maybe they are a partner. So you can be able to identify like what type of account it is. And account simply an organization. That lead object is good for being able to segment who already has an interest, whether they're qualified or not. That's, then you can, that's something you'll find out once they have an interest. You could be able to explore to see if they're qualified, but if they're a qualified lead, but just being a lead, so the problem is about, we're not just talking about a greenfield. We're talking about an org that already exists with records in it. So that's where, you just have to be able to not let perfection be the enemy
of the good.
Yeah. So be like, all right, listen, it would be most ideal if we have.
So what would you do with those 5,000 leads? Just archive them and go. I mean, you know how leads are. If you don't follow up within like a pretty much that day or the next day, they kind of enter into what I call, dead land. It's like you just lost it. You lost it to your competitor.
Yeah. So you could. Exactly. You could do that. You could be able to, because what were they working? If they weren't working those records, they were just working like, what do they do there? Right.
Well, so their sales cycle is usually 1 to 2 years. That's part of the problem. And they're doing big ticket items. They're trying to get in deep to the buyers within large organizations like Boeing and Meta and that sort of thing. And actually Boeing and Meta is like, 2 of their customers already. And so these guys are on LinkedIn, pounding the airwaves there. They're doing a lot of handshaking. They're at trade shows. Yeah. They're talking, taking people out to lunch and dinner and schmoozing them, so old school stuff.
Those are leads. And to really quick jump into a question that Gene threw out there about how easy is it to turn leads into opportunities. I'd say just understanding that when someone fills out a form at a road show or you meet someone, you just quickly get their information. They go to a website, they say, I want a demo, or I'm doing this webinar. Hey, I want to watch this on YouTube. And you fill out a form with your name, email. You want to minimize the number of questions you're asking for, but perhaps ask, what company do you work with? What size? So all that information then gets put into a lead. So you have one record. So that information, you say, hey, I'm here to watch this webinar. I'm interested about this technology. So I'm going to say, in order to watch the webinar, in order to get this webinar, I have to give some information. I have to say who I am and what company I work for.
Well, to Gene's question specifically, a technical term for lead is anyone who shows interest in your product. Yeah, that's a lead. And in Salesforce, you enter the lead in, and then when they get to the point and your company and your admin team is deciding what is the criteria for converting that lead. So once that lead is a lead, and then you decide to convert it, maybe the criteria is you give them a quote. They ask for a quote, you give them a quote, you're going to convert that lead. So you take that lead, you click a button to convert it, and then once you convert it, you can create an opportunity, an account, and a contact at the same time. And now the lead is essentially gone. It's bye-bye. You don't see it no more. Now you have an account, a contact, and within that within the account, not the contact, within the account, you have opportunities, possibility and opportunity to sell them X.
Multiple contacts too. You can have multiple opportunities because that's where it's a relational database.
Right.
Where in the account, you can have multiple opportunities happening if it's a big account. You can have multiple contacts, which is typically the case. And that's where you'll say, okay, that might be part of the lead conversion. Is that this lead will go to transforming into becoming an account and a contact and opportunity when we have a meeting scheduled with decision makers. So first we contact the lead and say, hey, do you have interests? Great. Okay. This is people we typically talk to. Let's get a meeting. Great. And let's, so then you can be able to convert and create those contact roles. So now
I really have to admit, man, I have a hard time with people who don't want to change purely because they're stubborn. They don't like change. Those people drive me crazy. It's like, okay, so why are you saying this? Like, I'm trying to get to the root of the problem, but sometimes it's just like obstinate.
One of my stories too. So, I've had that situation where in one of my trainings, there was, this is for the New Mexico construction department. And so these are like people who are like, it's so funny because like these are construction inspectors. People are like, engineer, inspector, stuff that's like tech that's way above my head, but they were super intimidated with the computer. And, they're used to just going to sites with their golf pencils and their paper, writing stuff out. And so they were very intimidated by the Salesforce system. And the manager knew that their supervisor knew that they're going to be super intimidated. So he was just like, getting the whip, the stick, not the carrot. He said, listen, all of you grunts, you're going to get Salesforce and you're going to love it. And during the training, it was like awkward at some moments where some people would just like raise their hands with some honest questions, be like, yeah, what about this? He's like, hey, no more back talk. He's like trying to keep his people in line. Like, these are construction people. Don't worry. They're hard.
But I'm a little bit sympathetic to that approach. And I'll tell you why. Usually
that's like the extreme of what you were just saying, Jerry. Hey, you
I'm like carrot. And then I get to a point where I'm like, okay, look. You work for ABC Builders. This is the rule. So you either roll with the rule or go find another job.
Well, so I would say, okay, you
quit complaining, get on the horse, ride it.
Well, all right. So this is where I'm going with this is about instead of carrot or stick, we need a third tool on this, an ear. I don't know what type of metaphor that'll work. Carrot, stick, Mr. Ed. We need Mr. Ed. We need Mr. Ed who can tell us what's going on.
Here's my approach.
You could. A pat on the back or smack.
Listen, you will do what we say or find another
Good
job.
Pat on the back or, hey, get going.
I'm just kidding. I as a BA, you definitely cannot take that approach, and I appreciate that fact. Otherwise, it'd just be like, bro, look, especially which generation now are are kind of the wussies, the Gen Zers, the Gen Xers. I'm getting them all mixed up.
We're now going to Gen Alpha.
Bro, you're not attuned to my feelings, and you're talking to me in a very assertive way, and I don't like it.
Did they say that or text message?
No. I'm just saying. That was my imitation of the.
I know. Yes.
Of the young kids who've been coddled by their mother their whole life. And Johnny, I know you came in 4th place, but you're still a winner to mom. Okay. So I'm going to give you a blue ribbon, a mom blue ribbon, because you participated.
It's a whole other thing right there. But but
no, there was a comedian that said, hey man, look, where I grew up, if you came in 2nd place, you lost. Anyway, it's funny stuff. Everybody's a winner. I get it. Woot, woot. That's the old school in me coming out, by the way.
Look out, man. You're going to be growing golf pencils out of your ears.
No. I'm a forward thinker when it comes to technology. No way I'm rocking pencils, Jack. No pens, no pencils, no paper. I'm on the cutting edge. I just like to crack jokes about funny stuff. And then, hey, I'm an equal opportunity joke cracker. Old, young,
old and young,
short, fat, skinny. Like, it makes no difference to me. I make fun of myself. I make fun of everybody. It's just kind of fun. You gotta have thick skin and not take life too serious.
Stories that I have is making fun of myself. So when I first got into the role of consulting as a trainer, I was like fully ready. Like, okay, this is what the training I have to give them. I got everything. I got the script down. I know every click.
Hey, see if you can get your mic closer to your lips.
Oh, well, I could just be closer. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you're kind of fading off. All right, go ahead. So you're all pumped about being a trainer?
Yeah. So being a trainer, super pumped, make sure I'm professional and polished. And I know every click. I know everything I'm going to say. And I went through it, but I think you can imagine what's going to happen. Like, I went through the training. It was wonderful. It was the best training ever, that I did everything perfectly, no mess ups. And at the end, they simply said, "Oh, okay. Well, I hope we'll get it. I hope this will make sense when we start to do it." And so that I call, that was me training crickets, because I realized I was just talking. Yeah, I was just talking, and I didn't ask any checks at all. Like, I didn't check to see, hey, does that make sense? Let's do a knowledge check. If we want to do that process, what would be the first thing we do? So I just showed you. Now let's rewind. And so now I do it like an episode.
And so what kind of response were you getting?
Well, it was like it was crickets the whole time, because I didn't ask questions. And then at the end, it's like, hey, what do you think of the training? They're like, oh, well, it was good. Jason sounded good, and I think we'll get it. Like, it feels like trying to be nice, like just be like, oh, it looks like a lot, but I think we'll get it when we start to get our hands on it. And I just took that as like, oh yeah, I never checked to see if they were following along. I was just doing my own thing. I didn't see if they were following along.
So you were just you had your script and you were just kind of rambling, doing your thing, thinking everybody was just like taking notes, and ultimately half of them didn't get it. The other half that kind of got it just weren't paying attention. Is that the deal?
Well, I mean, yeah, it's exactly. I was just doing my thing, and I was not checking to make sure whether they were following along or where they got lost. So that's where, if you're watching something, especially virtually, and you get lost, you just if you get stuck at some point, that's it. You lost everything. There's
right.
no catching up. So that's where they're like, yeah, I guess when we start to get in there, I guess we'll be able to learn it.
So that was the problem. So what was the solution? How'd you fix it?
The solution is, to do those checks, to especially when it's a class, when it's a group, I make it like an episode of Blue's Clues. So I'll say, okay, I'm going to first do a few steps. Like, I'm going to show you.
You got some 65-year-old guy who's been drinking Jack Daniels his whole life. He's like, Blue's Clues.
Yeah.
What the heck is that?
It's great. It was great, man. It was great, because what we do is we make it fun and engaging, and that I'll say, okay, we're going to do one small piece of the process where you go to find your lead and take ownership of a lead, saying, hey, I'm going to work this lead. Okay. There's a few steps to do that. We got to find the leads. We got to open the lead. You got to assign yourself to the lead. Okay. So those are the steps. I just showed it. Now let's rewind. Where do I go to find the leads? Where do I click? The leads tab. Oh, click the word or the drop down arrow. Oh, I clicked the drop down arrow.
But there are people that if they feel like things are getting on the corny side, they just shut down. Like, man, this is stupid. This is stupid. This is ridiculous. They may not say it there, but they'll say it over the water cooler or at lunch. It's like, bro, what'd you think of that Jason guy today? Man, that was the stupidest nonsense I ever.
But in comparison to what trainings you've done, so where trainings are dry or are unengaging, that's where it's you have to know your audience. Like, if they are at the cooler saying, oh man, this is cheesy or corny, I start off at the beginning. Again, I don't want to
tell them it's going to be cheesy and corny.
Yeah, well, exactly. It's what you're going to get, cheesy and corny, but it's going to be entertaining. It's going to perk you up. But also, I make sure that how we were talking here at the beginning, I asked for the roll goal poll, and I appreciate the warning to stay away from the poll. Thank you. I will mind the poll. But the roll goal poll. So right at the beginning, I engage people right at the start, because that's the thing. Right when people jump into the meeting, if you don't engage them, they're like, hey, I'm here for a virtual training. I'm just going to be eating my lunch.
So
you gotta let them know.
How do you measure winner? How do you measure
A winning training or winning like
no, just at the end where you're like, okay, I won. They're getting it. We're rocking and rolling.
Yeah,
everybody's moving
we do
forward.
the checks throughout. We do the checks throughout. They're engaged throughout. Exactly. It's just like with the sale. You don't wait till the end of the sale to know you got the sale. You have to do the both checks throughout.
Right. No, I get it. No, that's really good, actually.
Like sometimes you've done it. You do a training, and then you get a survey afterward. What did you think of the training? No one does that survey, and it's like, dude, you already had to sit here with the training, and now you got homework. No one's going to do that, and no one's going to answer it appropriately. So that's why I don't like those surveys. I like to do surveys in real time. Hey, what are you thinking so far? Are there any points that you think that we should have covered? Anything you want clarification on?
Yeah. And usually what you get back is.
So then exactly. Then I open them up. If they're like, that's the thing also with training or presenting or just having a conversation. A lot of times people take awkward silence and they don't know how to deal with it. And like when there's meeting, people are like, okay, any questions?
Yeah, but that's why God invented guys like you and me, because we like to talk.
Yeah. So when it makes me cringe whenever I hear in a meeting, people are like, any questions? Cricket. Okay, I hear silence, so I'll just take silence as a no. I'm going to move on. Nope. And I'll tell people at the beginning, if I hear
but
silence,
you have to say
you're thinking.
You got to say the total cliche comment. Now, guys, there's no such thing as a stupid question. The only stupid question is the one you don't ask. Right?
Exactly. No, but honestly, that is so important.
All right, we got a few more minutes, and so I'm going to wrap it up with one last quick story, and then
thank you, Gene, for appreciating my corniness. It's my corn.
Yeah,
my corn is better than dry training.
Yeah, actually, I totally agree, Gene.
My cheese is better than dry training.
There's nothing wrong with cheese and corny, especially if you tell them up front. Some people just get an attitude when they just think they're kind of above everybody, and you get a little cheesy and corny, and they're like, oh, this is stupid. So anyway, I was hired by a company. This one is actually pretty hilarious. So I was hired by this company as their director of marketing, and they were a copy machine. They sold copy machines. Large company, they had probably, 300-400 employees. Not large, actually. They're in the small to medium category. And I got fired after 8 days. Thanks, but no thanks, buddy. Get the heck out of here. So part of the problem was the president had this big office on the second floor, corner office, all these windows, and his sister-in-law was the gatekeeper. She sat right outside in the desk, right? And let's just say she had a surly attitude. Anyway, so they sold copy machines, and in the first 4 days of working there, I had one meeting with the president. He jumped on a whiteboard, told me all the things he wanted to do. I took notes. That's it. They shoved me in a sales cubicle in the sales bullpen with a bunch of sales guys screaming and yelling all the time. I couldn't get work done, so I went downstairs to one of the three conference rooms that were never used. And so the president didn't like that, apparently, that I was not sitting at my desk being bothered trying to get work done. So in the first 3 days, I started doing a deep dive. I said, where are we getting all our leads from? Well, most of our leads we buy. We buy online from about 3 different companies, right? So I started doing research, and I wanted to follow, see if there was any leakage. So I was following the email chain from where we were purchasing leads all the way through each step of the process, kind of like, what a business analyst does instead of a marketing director, but followed that chain all the way through to the point where the salesperson got the lead. And then what happened after that? When did they follow up? Did they call? Did they drive to the office? What did they do? What I found was one company we had spent $26,000 with over the previous 3 months, and their lead system was not even connected to our CRM system. So every single lead was generated, created, and then disappeared into the ether. Nobody knew it was even coming in. And then the other system, which we had spent about $10,000 with, was connected to the CRM, but nobody was following up on the leads. So I'm talking to the sales guys. I'm like, hey guys, these leads from, ABC lead source are coming in. What? Nobody's following up on those are junk leads. Yeah. After a few of those, we stopped bothering with it. Like, you do realize that the company's paying lots of money for these leads, and your job as a salesperson is to sort the leads, go through them, follow up, call them, touch base, connect, find out, do you want anything? Do you need anything? There's a reason why they filled out the form. So one has to assume there's some level of interest in our product, in our copy machines, right? I mean, one would assume that. So they weren't following up. So I created this report and said, hey, boss, so over the past 3 months, we spent about $35,000 in buying all these leads, and they're literally going nowhere. The sales manager was irritated and ticked off and couldn't believe that this was happening. The president fired me. Like, literally on day 8, I walk into his office on my way out, heading back home at the end of the day. And he says, Jerry, we're kind of going in 2 different directions. So, yeah, I'm going to have to let you go. I'm like, 2 different directions? We had one meeting with you and me. You gave me a list of stuff that you wanted done. I was working on those items. And in the meantime, I did a little digging and found out that we were wasting money with 2 of our lead sources. So help me understand, sir, why you say we're going in 2 different directions. At that point, I didn't even care. And my parting statement to him was, hey, I just want to thank you. I really appreciate you firing me, because at least 8 days in, I now understand that you're a company that is operated with no integrity. And I'd rather find out now than find out down the road. So that was my last little digger.
There you go. Yeah, they're heading 2 different directions. They're heading off a cliff towards an iceberg.
Can you believe a company that is spending that kind of money and the leads are going nowhere and nobody knows? Mm-hmm. Nobody's like watching. Nobody's watching the roosters in the hen house to just like, we just want to pretend it doesn't exist. Yeah, man. No, you're definitely an out of the box thinker and out of the bottle thinker. Like, inside joke. I don't know if you want to talk about that story right there. I think that's just classic. Which one?
The out of the bottle thinker. Out of the
bottle thinker? Yeah, I haven't heard that one. Heard out of the box.
If you have a butterfly in a bottle, how do you get the butterfly out of the bottle? Right? It was like remember you told me that story. It's like, hey, they gave you this quiz, you and other people, like the question. They said, okay, you got a butterfly in the bottle. How do you get the butterfly out of the bottle?
Yeah. What was my answer to that?
Break the bottle.
Right. Oh, yeah. They said you can't touch the bottle. You can't do anything to the bottle. There's a butterfly in the bottle. How do you get the butterfly out without killing him?
I mean, I don't know. I didn't know that was part of it. Just to get the butterfly out. I don't know.
Well, what it does is it separates the risk takers. Like, I'm telling you as management, the rule is you can't do anything to the bottle, but you got to get that butterfly out. How are you going to get him out of the bottle? And I said, break the bottle. And he said, well, yeah, but we told you couldn't do that. I'm like, yeah, I don't care. I'm going to break the bottle. I'm going to get the butterfly out. Everybody else is like, yeah, but he said you can't break the bottle. I'm like, yeah, I don't care. I'm breaking the bottle. You understand where my brain's going here? Now, I might get in trouble, but the butterfly is out of the bottle. Now you can jump on my case.
He's an out of the bottle thinker, and it was not talking about drinking.
Well, I do that too.
Yeah, we're in Arizona, so we do have to drink.
Yeah, you do have to drink coffee.
I got water.
I'm an espresso guy. Well, we're going to wrap things up. Thanks, Jason. Jason Zykowitz from Phoenix, Arizona. Mr. Trainer, Salesforce guy, guru. Thanks, Jason.
Thank you, Jerry. So excited you've been putting this on. Looking forward to all the wonderful things you're going to produce. You are a gem in the Salesforce ecosystem. Thank you, everyone, for joining and enjoying, and hopefully see you around the cloud.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks a lot, you guys, for everyone for showing up. Don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Google. You can find both of us knuckleheads on LinkedIn, and keep building, keep innovating. Most importantly, have fun, reimagine success, sprinkle fun in there along the way until our next episode. Thanks a lot, you guys.
The Jerry Rigged Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple, Spotify, or Google. Business technology for CEOs, managers, and business owners. We're here to deliver insights and strategies without the fluff. This is the Jerry Rigged Podcast.